Glitter Panda here with a new tutorial for you on how to create a shaker card. This was something that I was looking for a lot when I first started crafting and started card making, and I thought I would give you one that's very simple with some of my new close to my heart products as well. I've cut out a number of things ahead of time just to kind of save some time here, but I will show you what we start with. First we have a card base, and I've done that at 4 by 4, so it's a 4-inch by 4-inch card base, and what I did was to cut it at 8 inches by 4 inches and then score it at 4 so that it's a 4-inch by 4-inch square. The second layer, which is going to be your pattern layer, is going to be 3 by 3, 3 inches by 3 inches. Then the layer that you're going to stamp, I did it 2.5 by 2.5, and I used this congratulations stamp by Close to My Heart, and that is right here. It's this little round image, and actually this is one of the images that coordinates with the Cricut Close to My Heart cartridge, but I'm actually going to get rid of this little C on the inside. I don't need that C there, and I'm actually going to make the shaker card component in the middle of the C. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. The other things you're going to need for this card are ink for the stamp, and I'm using one of my go-to inks, my new go-to ink, the Exclusive Ink Cocoa by Close to My Heart. I love this color, it's fantastic. It's a little bit softer than a black ink, and so I feel like it kind of shows up a little bit better. It's a little bit less harsh than the black ink. I have my liquid glass, which is also my new go-to adhesive, and that is going to help me to connect the piece that I didn't actually show you, which is my acetate, which you need for any shaker card, and that is this little piece right here. You can hardly see it. I actually kept the white strip on so you could see the acetate. The acetate doesn't stick as nicely if you don't use some sort of a liquid glue, so I'm using the liquid glass for that, and it's nice and clear. I have an X-Acto knife for cutting out the part of the C for the shaker card, and finally I have the edges of dimensionals. When you have these dimensionals, don't throw away the edges because these are great for shaker cards. You use the little edges and you can cut them to any size that you need them, and those come in very handy, so I have those as well. And then just some standard adhesive to put down the other layers. So let's get started. So to make the shaker component, what I've done is I've stamped my congratulations stamp right onto this piece of cardstock, and I want to remove the middle circle layer. And so since it's very hard to kind of get in there and start spinning it in a circle, one of the little tips that I was given a while ago was to draw an X right in the middle of the area that you want to cut out. And when you do that, you can see that you kind of have a little bit more of a surface area to work with. I don't exactly know how to explain it other than that you can kind of make these smaller cuts and you don't have to go all the way around at once. You can see that I can punch out most of that, and if there are pieces that are sticking a little bit, you can just take your little blade and kind of rub it back and forth a little bit to just get those little areas that are still sticking, or if you need to put it back down for it one more time, and that will pull it off. And then you're going to want to clean up the little edges. Once you have the circle cut out, what you want to do is you want to put your acetate on the back so that it will show through. And so what I did was to cut the acetate just slightly smaller than the circle. And I left until the very last minute, I left the little white strip on. And what that helps me to do is to not get fingerprints on my acetate, because that is a problem that is kind of annoying. Try to keep the adhesive further away from the edges of the circle opening, because that way you're going to not have to worry about it leaking over onto the side. And so once you know that you've got that the right size, you can go ahead and cut it and try to hold it and handle it by the edges and place it right down over the hole that you've created with your X-Acto knife, and lightly press down so that you don't get tons of glue coming over the edges there. And we're going to give that a few minutes to dry. The next thing I want to do is to take the little dimensional foam and start to create a little reservoir for my glitter or whatever whatever's going to go and be the shaker component of the card. And I want to stay pretty close to the edges without showing over the hole. And so, you know, if it gets too long, I can go in there with my scissors and I can cut off some excess and start angling. But the most important thing here is you cannot have any gaps. Any gaps that you have are going to show, they're going to allow the glitter to escape or whatever it is that you put in there. Now, if you're working with glitter, you literally can have no gaps, and sometimes I would even say to do 2 walls of the foam just to be safe. If you're working more with something that is a little bit larger, then you have a little bit more leeway. Certainly you don't want big gaps, but you might be able to have a smaller gap and it not make a big deal. And so even if I'm going over the edge, what I want to do is I want to press the edges directly to the end. So you can see, even though I kind of went down here, I'm pushing this right up to the end so that I don't end up with any holes there. And I'm going to continue all the way around. And it's also very important that you leave the top layer of the top strip that keeps everything from sticking on, because when you put in the glitter, if you pull that top strip off, you're going to have a hard time because the glitter is going to stick to it. So you leave that on until the very last minute. At the very end, you want to look around and make sure you don't have any gaps at all and that everything touches. So I went ahead and I reinforced any of the gappy areas just with a little bit of extra just to make sure that nothing comes out. And I grabbed my Studio G glitter and I'm going just to pour a little bit of that into this little reservoir area. Get a little bit too much in there, you can go ahead and dump that off onto another piece of paper and then funnel it back in. And that's what I'm going to do now off camera. So I've gotten just about enough in there, I think. Cap that back up. You can kind of see that the glitter is in there. And I'm going to then start to peel off my strips. So once you have put the glitter in the reservoir, what I realized was I needed to add my backing. And so I actually used a little piece of this pattern paper just to cover up the back, the opening. And so you can see this actually makes the shaker component, and when you go like this, it will shake the glitter around. You can kind of see the shaky glitter. Have trouble keeping that on camera. And the final step is just to add that little glitter component right to the top of the card. And I'm going to do that with dimensionals. So I can literally go back to the dimensionals that I was using for the background component and stick them on right on the back, and I might want to use just 4 to keep it from wobbling. And then I'm going to center this component, the shaker card. And so once you stick that right back down, you have a little simple shaker card. And there's your little shaking component. And I hope you like it. And if you want any of these products, please visit us at our blog, glitterpander.blogspot.com.